In the late 1980s, the world was riveted by images of the American and Soviet presidents as friends rather than mortal enemies. And the major reason for this thaw in diplomatic relations was called Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev, General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Gorbachev was a textbook communist, the son of a peasant farmer whose brilliant mind swiftly took him to the top ranks of the party. As a teenager, Gorbachev earned the prestigious Red Banner of Labor Award for outstanding work as a harvester on his local collective farm. He earned a law degree from Moscow University, where he met and married Raisa Maximovna Titorenko, who was studying philosophy. She was to become one of his greatest political assets. Despite being a dedicated member of the Soviet Communist Party, Gorbachev was a radical thinker who was never afraid to question the status quo. He used his time as the first party secretary of the Stavropol Kraikom in the 1970s to reform agricultural collectives. Gorbachev became aware of the shortcomings that undermined the Soviet economic and political systems and pushed strongly for fundamental reform. As a member of the CPSU Central Committee, he traveled to the West, which greatly shaped his political outlook and enabled him to develop close relationships with Western leaders. In 1985, Gorbachev rose to the highest echelons of power when he was appointed to lead the Soviet Union at the age of 54. At the time, the world was still in the grip of the Cold War that had seen massive military buildups and proxy conflicts around the world. But Gorbachev was aware of the massive strain weapons proliferation placed on the Soviet economy. Shortly after coming to power, he met American President Ronald Reagan in Geneva to discuss scaling back armaments. Although no concrete agreements were struck, the two men established a personal rapport and met again the following year at Reykjavik in Iceland. They discussed Gorbachev's proposal to remove medium-range nuclear weapons from Europe and came up with a plan to eliminate all nuclear weapons within 10 years. With his ambitious vision, distinctive looks, and charisma, Gorbachev became a fully fledged star in the West. He forged close relationships with many world leaders, including Britain's Margaret Thatcher. It was the Soviets who dubbed Thatcher the Iron Lady in the 1970s because she repudiated the policy of détente and favored taking a strong stand against communism. However, on meeting Gorbachev, Thatcher revised her position and remarked, "I like Mr. Gorbachev. We can do business together." In tandem with his new thinking approach to foreign affairs, Gorbachev introduced perestroika within the Soviet Union with the aim of restructuring the economy. Central control was relaxed and local enterprises were expected to become self-sustaining. By 1988, it was legal to own and operate private businesses. Joint ventures with foreign companies were encouraged. Equally radical was the introduction of glasnost, which saw state censorship relaxed and an unprecedented examination of state excesses and corruption. But as is often the case, by pushing the door ajar just slightly, Gorbachev's reforms unleashed a torrent of change that swiftly engulfed the state and fractured the Soviet Union. The Baltic republics, then the rest of Eastern Europe and Central Asia, used the slackening of state control to push their cases for self-determination, and within 2 years the Soviet Empire had fragmented into oblivion.
It is better to see once than to hear 100.
Gorbachev's standing among hardline Soviet communists hit rock bottom, and he faced an uncertain political future.
5,